She's shy around strangers, the man said, tightening his grip on the little girl's shoulder. Aren't you Sophie? But Staff Sergeant Roderick Vale wasn't convinced, especially when the child met his gaze and gave a silent hand signal every trained guardian knows to fear. So, what did that signal mean? And what happened when Vale broke centuries of protocol to respond? Before we reveal that, hit the subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Staff Sergeant Roderick Vale stood immobile, the summer sun glinting off his ceremonial uniform as cathedral bells chimed the hour across London. The palace courtyard buzzed with excited tourists, their cameras flashing against the backdrop of centuries-old stone walls and fluttering royal standards. Unlike most guards with their fixed thousand-y stare, Vale had developed a habit of reading crowds through subtle focus shifts, a skill that had saved his life twice during his tours in conflict zones. His military service had taught him that awareness meant survival in combat zones and palace duty alike. Through the sea of tourists clustered against the ceremonial barriers, a pair of eyes caught his attention, not with admiration or curiosity like the others, but unmistakable fear. They belonged to a small girl, perhaps 8 years old. While other children bounced excitedly, pointing at the guards' bear-kin hats, she remained still, shoulders hunched as if trying to disappear. Despite the July heat that had tourists in summer clothes, she wore long sleeves that covered most of her body. The man gripping her shoulder wore expensive clothes, his smile practiced when observed. Vale noticed how his fingers dug into her shoulder when unobserved, making her flinch. "Stand up straight," the man hissed. "Remember what I told you." No talking. The girl nodded silently. When the man checked his phone, her posture briefly relaxed before tensing again under his grip. Vale thought of his own daughters, Emma and Charlotte, their laughter and trust. The contrast with this girl's distress tightened something in his chest. As the morning progressed, Vale's concerns deepened. The girl's eyes tracked the man constantly, maintaining exactly the distance he permitted. When a family with laughing children passed by, she watched them with longing before quickly looking down when the man squeezed her arm. "Excited to see the guards, sweetheart?" a tourist asked the girl. The man interrupted smoothly. "She's shy around strangers, aren't you, Sophie?" The girl nodded, but Vale noticed a slight delay before responding to the name. Barely perceptible but significant to someone trained to read body language. "My niece is visiting from Manchester," the man added, hand never leaving her shoulder. Her first time seeing the ceremony. When the crowd pressed forward, the man lifted the girl up. Her sleeve rode up, revealing bruising around her wrist, the unmistakable pattern of adult fingers that had gripped too tightly. "1 more hour," Vale heard him mutter. "Then we're leaving, and if you've been good, maybe I won't punish you tonight." The girl's shoulders sagged with resignation. Vale felt the familiar pre-combat tension, but remained bound by ceremonial duty. The man positioned them partially hidden from security cameras while whispering to the girl. Vale caught fragments. "Remember what I said about running? They'll never believe you. No one's looking for you anymore." The girl remained expressionless, but her fingers curled into fists, controlling fear, not defiance. When jostled by another tourist, the man yanked her upright, revealing more bruises in various healing stages on her arm. The man noticed Vale watching and quickly adjusted her clothing, checking his watch before moving toward the edge of the crowd. Vale recognized the predatory behavior from counter-trafficking training the regiment had received just months earlier. The girl's responses, hypervigilance, flinching, resigned compliance, suggested sustained trauma, not just strict parenting. Her complete silence throughout the ceremony was telling. Survival through invisibility. The way she calculated each movement before making it. How she anticipated the man's moods through subtle shifts in his posture. Spoke of someone who had learned that survival depended on reading her captor's intentions. It reminded Vale of hostages he'd encountered in war zones, people who had developed the same haunted hyper-awareness. When the man checked exit routes, the girl's eyes met Vale's directly. The sunlight caught the unshed tears brimming at her lashes, magnifying the blue of her irises. Her look conveyed desperate pleading that cut through his professional reserve and struck something primal in him, the instinct that had once made him run into gunfire to save a wounded comrade. An elderly couple had been watching with concern. The woman approached. "Lovely day for your visit," she said to the girl. "First time seeing the guards." The man answered for her. "My niece is shy. We're in a hurry." "I taught primary school for 40 years, she persisted. "Shy children are often the most observant." Her husband added, "My wife has a gift with children." Vale recognized their strategy, creating a protective social buffer around the girl. "Sophie, would you like a sweet?" the woman offered. Again, Vale noticed the girl's slight hesitation at the name. "No sweets before lunch," the man replied with an edge that made the couple exchange glances. Her young mother stopped nearby. "My daughter has that same backpack from the Manchester School District," she said, pointing to the pink bag. "The name tag looks turned in. Shouldn't it say Sophie?" The man's hand tightened. "We need to go," he said abruptly, pulling the girl toward the exit. "Our tour bus is waiting." "But the ceremony isn't finished," the elderly man protested. "Change of plans," the man snapped, dragging the girl through the crowd. Vale tracked them while maintaining position. The girl looked back once, her eyes meeting his with intensity that communicated everything. Both knew the next moments would determine her fate. The man pulled her roughly toward the gates, his head constantly scanning for security while maintaining a grip that made her stumble. "Walk properly," he hissed. "You're making a scene." A tour group briefly blocked Vale's view. When they moved, he saw the pair nearly at the exit, moments from disappearing into London streets. "Excuse me, sir," called the elderly man. "Your niece dropped something." The delay worked. In that moment of hesitation, the girl's eyes locked with Vale's across the forecourt. What happened next took seconds, but would remain with Vale forever. The girl's right hand rose in what might appear as brushing hair from her eyes. But the movement continued with deliberate precision. Her fist closed, then opened, then pressed against her opposite palm. Vale recognized it instantly. The universal children's distress signal designed for those who knew to look for it. A silent cry for help. The man caught her movement, his face transforming to rage. He grabbed her wrist so hard she gasped. "You little," he growled, abandoning pretense as he dragged her toward the exit. Vale's military mind assessed options in milliseconds. Breaking formation could end his career, but the alternative was unthinkable. Beyond the guardsman stood the soldier. Beyond the soldier stood the father. In that moment, Staff Sergeant Roderick Vale made his decision. The crack of his boots against stone echoed as Vale broke position. Tourists gasped, cameras swinging toward him. The other guards remained still, though their peripheral vision tracked him. Palace security. Vale's voice carried full military authority. "Stop right there." The man froze momentarily, giving Vale time to close the distance. Tourists scattered from his path, phones raised to capture the unprecedented scene. "Release the child immediately," Vale commanded. "This is outrageous," the man blustered, accent refined again. "This is my niece. We have a schedule. Release her now." Vale positioned himself between them and the exit. The girl stood frozen, eyes wide. The man's grip loosened slightly in shock, but he maintained contact. "This is none of your business," the man hissed quietly. "You're making a mistake. Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly what you are," Vale replied, making eye contact with the girl. "Young lady, would you like to step over here while I speak with your uncle?" His hesitation made clear he didn't believe the relationship. The girl's eyes darted between them, conditioning wearing with hope. "She's not going anywhere with us," the man snapped. "Return to your post before I report this harassment." Palace security approached quickly. One guard had discreetly radioed for support. "Sir, I observed the international distress signal from this child," Vale stated loudly. "Protocol requires me to ensure her safety." The crowd formed a circle around them. The elderly couple pushed forward. That man's behavior has concerned us for the past half hour, the elderly man called. The child is frightened of him. And she didn't respond naturally to the name Sophie, added the mother. He became defensive when I mentioned Manchester schools. The man's eyes darted between witnesses approaching security and the blocked exit. His respectable mask began slipping. Last chance, Vale said quietly. Release her arm or I'll remove your hand myself. This is absurd, the man declared to the crowd. I'm her uncle. Sophie, tell this man who I am. The girl remained silent, eyes fixed downward. Vale noticed again how she didn't respond to the name. Young lady, Vale said gently, kneeling to her level while blocking escape routes. The signal you made. We teach children to use it when they need help. Was that why you made it? Before she could answer, the man interrupted. She was just brushing her hair. This is ridiculous. I need identification, Vale stated firmly, and documentation of your relationship to this child. Palace security arrived. Sergeant, what's the situation? Suspected child endangerment? Vale responded crisply. The child displayed the international distress signal. I've observed multiple signs of abuse. The man produced ID Daniel Harwick, British citizen. My niece Sophie is visiting from Manchester. I have temporary guardianship while her mother is hospitalized. This is a misunderstanding. The security officer examined the ID while Vale watched the girl who trembled now that adults stood between her and her captor. Can you tell us your full name? A female officer asked the girl. The girl's eyes checked with the man before whispering, Sophie Harwick. Vale noticed her unnatural delivery, forming the name as if reading rather than stating her identity. How old are you? The officer continued. 8, she replied after another glance at the man. Your uncle says your mother is in hospital. Can you tell me her name? Panic crossed the girl's face. My mom, is the man interrupted. Her mother's name is Elizabeth, my sister. This questioning is upsetting her. The elderly woman stepped forward. Earlier she didn't react to the name Sophie until after he responded for her. And look at her backpack, added the young mother. The name tag is turned inward. Vale reached for the pink backpack. The man lunged to stop him, but security blocked him. Vale turned the tag outward, written in childish handwriting. Ly Bennett, Year 3, Oakwood Primary. That's not her backpack, the man said quickly. She must have picked up another child's by mistake. Lily? Vale asked directly. Is your name Lily Bennett? Recognition flickered in her eyes before she looked fearfully at the man. It's okay, Vale assured her. He can't hurt you now. Are you Lily Bennett from Oakwood Primary? Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. Yes, my name is Lily. He took me from school. He said my parents were dead and nobody wanted me anymore. The crowd gasped as security immediately restrained the man whose face transformed to cold fury. You're making a mistake, he snarled, pretense abandoned. You have no idea who you're dealing with. A tourist stepped forward. I recognize her. Lily Bennett, missing for 3 weeks. It's been all over Manchester news. She showed her phone with a missing child alert matching the girl. Security tightened their grip on the man radioing for police, Daniel Harwick. If that's even your real name, Vale said with contained fury. You're under arrest for kidnapping and child endangerment. I suspect police will find evidence of worse crimes. For a moment, stillness descended. The calm before a storm. The man's charm vanished, replaced by cold calculation. His eyes flicked between security, exits, and witnesses, assessing options with predatory precision. You've got nothing, he said quietly. The girl is confused, traumatized from her mother's illness. The female officer stood protectively beside Lily, who shook uncontrollably. Vale watched the man's posture for signs of action. Police are 3 minutes out, the male officer announced. Sir, remain calm. The explosion of movement came with professional suddenness. The man elbowed the officer's solar plexus, following with a headbutt that dropped him. As the officer fell, the man produced a concealed blade, lunging toward Lily. If I can't have her, no one will, he snarled. Vale's combat training took over, muscle memory from 100 close-quarter battle drills flowing through him without conscious thought. He intercepted the attack with a fluid precision that transformed the ceremonial guard into the elite soldier beneath the uniform. His left hand swept outward, deflecting the knife arm along its natural arc, while simultaneously driving his right fist into the man's sternum with a sickening impact that folded him forward. The man recovered with the practiced skill of someone who had clearly engaged in violence before, pivoting on his back foot and slashing wildly as tourists scattered with screams of panic. The polished blade caught the afternoon light before finding Vale's forearm, slicing through the ceremonial red wool and into flesh. Blood bloomed against the fabric, but Vale barely registered the pain as combat focus narrowed his world to the immediate threat, his pupils dilating and peripheral awareness sharpening, the same state that had kept him alive during an ambush in Helmand years before. "Get the girl away," Vale shouted to the female officer, who pulled Lily behind the protective circle of guards who had abandoned their posts. What followed wasn't professional restraint, but unleashed fury. Vale blocked the knife, countered hard, and dropped the kidnapper with precise, ruthless strikes, then kept punching until Hans dragged him back.